Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video discussion for the 25th of May, 2015. Happy Memorial Day to you. Hopefully you're out there being safe and are going to continue to do so we can have you back here to enjoy these video discussions. Want to keep you safe for that and everything else, right? So it is Monday, time to take a look at what's going on in the tropics, and there's a few things to talk about here. First of all, a stop on the climatological tour. The Eastern Pacific this time of year starts to get a little bit more active. We're talking about the 21st through the 31st time frame in climatology. These are the areas that have developed over the last more than 100 years, and the Atlantic Basin has a few areas as well. This will start to get more active as we get through the next 10 days from the Hurricane Center's graphics that they have put together showing climatological history, and that'll be June 1st through the 10th. Now, let's take a look at sea surface temperature anomalies. This is always a good start, at least in my opinion. The departures from normal, I think what jumps out at you here is this large red and orange area. That is the El Nino that is continuing to grow slowly, but certainly sustain itself. Very warm water relative to normal off the coast of South America, extending westward out over the equatorial Pacific, as the trade winds have slackened and in some cases reversed and become more westerly through here. That has allowed this water to warm abnormally so. We also have warm water compared to normal in the western Atlantic and throughout all of the Gulf of Mexico, and for the first time in a long time, off the coast of Africa, extending southwestward several hundred miles. And then of course you see this blue area, which is indicating below normal sea surface temperatures. And, you know, we'll see how all of this evolves. I think the biggest player out of all of these will be this area here for sure, and then possibly what goes on with this if we have something to come out of the tropics or develop close to home, so to speak, and take advantage of that warmer than normal water temperature profile. Actual water temperatures, I tell you what, if you're enjoying Memorial Day anywhere from the Keys, around the west coast of Florida, through the Gulf Coast, Slidell, Louisiana, up on the lake here, very warm down to Lake Charles, Louisiana, and then all the way over to Galveston, Corpus Christi, through Brownsville and South Padre Island, and then even the Gulf Coast down to Tampico, Veracruz, western Cuba. All of this water, surface water, very, very warm, and I showed you it's actually warmer than it should be. And even in the Atlantic here, the western Atlantic, 26 degrees Celsius is about 80 degrees. Look at that. That is already just about 80 degrees, just a few hundred miles south of where the water was frozen almost solid just a few weeks ago. That's amazing, isn't it? 26 degrees Celsius, 79.5 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's not too far south of where the water was a frozen slushy back in as late as March, as recent as March. So that's something else. That's the earth and its dynamics for you. Pamlico Sound, nice and warm as is. Onslow and Long Bay down here, through the Isle of Palms down to Jacksonville, St. Augustine, mid to upper 70s, low 70s right along the beaches in some cases, but really nice, especially considering there's abundant sunshine. Now this is interesting. This is the actual energy in the water, so to speak, what we call TCHP, the Tropical Cyclone Heat Potential, and that shows us how much energy via the warm water to depth. How deep is that warm water? If it's just at the surface, it's easy to cool it off with brisk trade winds or a tropical cyclone coming along and stirring it up. But if that warm water extends deep into the ocean, then you have a lot more what's called heat potential available. So when the water is churned or mixed, there's more warm water to replace it. And typically the bottom of the scale is obviously low heat content, and the upper end of the scale is high heat content. Right off the coast of the Carolinas, there's just a little bit, even more so along the Gulf Stream off of the southeast coast, but then especially so nosing its way up into the Gulf of Mexico. Now let's look at what it was like last year. Look at that. That's a noticeable difference. You're missing it here in the Gulf, and for the most part off the southeast coast here. So this is this year, this is last year. So that correlates very well to these anomalies where we have this very warm water off the southeast coast and very warm water relative to average in the Gulf of Mexico. So this will be something to look at as the season evolves. Again, this is where we are now. A lot of this in the Gulf of Mexico will begin to fill in, as will the Western Atlantic Basin, and it'll just be a matter of, does something come along to take advantage of it? Right now, no issues in the Atlantic Basin. However, in the Eastern Pacific, that's a different story. This area out here, well to the southwest of the Baja, really nothing to be concerned with. But if we look at the 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook, we do have a little bit more, I would say, to at least keep an eye on. And it just updated right before my eyes. That's awesome. That's pretty cool. Now we see this area here. I believe this is called Invest Area. I think it's 90E or 91E. I'll have to check that. It's still early, and I can't remember what's if they've already done a 90E. You remember they have the 90 through 99 and the letter E for Eastern Pacific. The bottom line, though, is this one is low chance of development even over the next 5 days, but this region, high chance of development over the next several days. And in fact, if we look at the GFS, the Global Forecast System, this is valid tomorrow morning. This is the region that's outlined in red right now on the previous map, and this is what it looks like in 72 hours. The GFS indicating that a tropical cyclone will form fairly decent distance away from the southwest coast of Mexico and Cabo San Lucas. But then by day 5, the GFS indicating a very strong cyclone in the model field. Lots of isobars in there, very round appearance to it. A nice little tail on the system indicating really well-developed inflow and precipitation. In other words, it'll look really good on satellite picture if you like hurricanes. Maybe you like them when they stay away from land, right? And this will have to be watched because, obviously, we don't need it making landfall here, but we also don't need any of this moisture to be advected up into this area of the United States. And if we get a trough digging in just the right way, and you pull this moisture up, even an additional precipitable water value of an extra quarter to a half an inch or so would mean a lot more rain for areas in Texas and Oklahoma that simply do not need it. So we need to keep an eye on this very closely and see what happens over the next several days. That being said, I'll be back on Wednesday to give you another update on that. Normally these updates on Hurricane Pro and HD are once a week when things are generally benign out there, but when we see something that catches our eye, the updates will become more frequent, so look out for that on Wednesday. Other than that, again, have a good rest of your Memorial Day. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday. I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com and for Hurricane Pro and HD. We'll talk again in about 48 hours.